lot of these would be good with alcohol, Ben.
They are supposed to be good by themselves. I've been through tribulations. It was this particular moment that I remember after my last venture, because it was like, I just set 7 years of my life on fire.
All right, we are in Vancouver, Washington, and we're gonna be talking to the CEO of Alipop, Ben Goodwin. He's not just the founder and CEO, he also formulates all of these flavors here on this table, which is pretty amazing for a founder and a CEO of a company that did over $400 million in revenue in 2024. They doubled their sales in 2023, and they just raised money at a valuation of $1.8 billion. I'm William Salvi, and this is the CEO series, where we have real conversations with real CEOs. Let's go talk to Ben. All right, we are with the CEO of Olipop, Ben Goodwin. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Well, first, I just want to know how you started Olipop and what your overall goal was when you started, because I know this is not your first product that you've launched.
Yeah. So it sounds a little erudite, but really like my life goal has been to just help human health and consciousness at a large scale. And that's really been something I've been focused on ever since I dropped out of college at 20 years old. I grew up pretty poor, didn't really want to be in debt.
Growing up, did that make you want to be an entrepreneur because of the way you grew up?
I just have one of those personalities. Like I'm not, like I'd be very difficult to employ. And
You think you'd be a good employee?
No.
And you just jumped right into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I did, like so many people, I did actually feel quite attracted to beverage, right? There's a reason why only 0.4% of beverage companies make it to 10 million in revenue, and that's because a lot of people enter that category. I think beverages are just, they're ubiquitous. Everybody, drinks them, and kind of, they seem like they're a little flashy, brands do get big and make an impact to people's lives. Everyone has an idea for a beverage. Everyone thinks that beverage brands like a really sexy thing to do. And then, I'm gonna get like ultra rich if I go into beverage.
What's the reality of beverage? You just mentioned a percentage of brands that ultimately make it to a successful number.
Yeah,
and even then you're still competing with very large companies. So
here's the reality. It's literally a Death Star shot. It's funny because I'm not actually organically ultra motivated by like business just to make cash. It's more the impact piece of it, but beverage really is business on expert mode out the gate. It's a high volume, low margin product that has incredibly expensive barriers to distribution and ultra high, well-funded competition. So when people do come and ask me like, should I get into this? It's like, look, if you don't really believe in what you're doing, if you aren't wildly tenacious, and if you aren't kind of ready to get punched in the face a lot, then I would steer clear.
Has anyone ever told you that they do not like them to your face?
For sure.
How do you react?
Okay, thanks, great.
We're live at the taste test.
Live and direct.
Live. I want you to lead the way on which ones we should try, because I have not tried any Alipop.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I should have before this.
I would probably start with a crisp apple. Okay, my recommendation. So you start with the nose. I know this is crazy.
It's like a wine tasting.
I know, you start by smelling it, because the smell is very purposeful. And
it's nice.
And then you can drink, yeah. Very apple.
This tastes good. This I can get behind. I'm not a soda drinker at all. Like, I'm water kind of exclusively.
So I grew up drinking Martinelli's sparkling apple juice, which was like, when I was a kid, was just like if I could get my hands on a Martinelli's sparkling apple juice, I was very, very excited. Originally, our crisp apple actually came out as a holiday exclusive flavor. And I was like, what could be a really great kind of, flavor that says holiday, that fits into an established routine. And then the flavor profile here is like, it's a mixture. The nostalgia component is the sparkling Martinelli's apple juice, but then I threw in this kind of like green apple gummy ring note on the top, plus some apricot juice, so it adds a little
This
complexity.
is literally just you in your home?
Yes. Yeah. But that's
Do you have like a science kit?
Yeah, I have a lab.
How big is it?
It's not huge. Right now it's in my laundry room.
Was there any formative experience early on that said, I do want to start my own company, or I do want to be my own, I guess an owner of my own path?
Yeah, I mean, for me, going back to that kind of core mission of helping health and consciousness at scale, that takes resources, that takes the ability to influence the world around you. And the simple reality is we live in a capitalist society. And so a business is actually, if you can stay focused on what's important to you and stay very mission focused, a business is actually a phenomenal vehicle in Western capitalist society. I call us a double unicorn. So we're one of the fastest growing beverage companies in all of US history. And on top of that, we've gotten to profitability. We're building a great business that is really disruptive to food and beverage industry and potentially other industries as well. But the other side of it is that we're not full of right? Because there's plenty of successful brands out there, but then they make health claims, but they don't really care if they're real or not.
Right.
And so if you come in and participate in the Alipop journey in some way, you get to be a part of something that's ultra successful, but you also get to be a part of something that really puts its money where its mouth is and is super, super motivated to helping customers and ensuring that the work it's doing and the claims that it's making are substantiated.
So I know you doubled in sales from 2023 to 2024. Obviously, that's a hard thing to continue to do. And I know you've raised for the Series C.
Yes, which is our final cash into the business.
Can you explain more about that and what your plans are going into 2025 and 2026?
It's a pretty insane moment, right? We're slightly over 5 years old, and we just completed our final priced round, which ended up at a 1.8 billion pre-money valuation.
Amazing, yeah.
And
good for you.
Thank you. And there are brands that sometimes there are companies that can get really high valuations, and it's not terribly well tied to their revenue or their kind of P&L structure. And I'm really proud that we've gotten to this valuation and we've gotten to it off of kind of a sane anchoring into the actual financial mechanics of the business.
Mm-hmm. And you all are profitable.
We're profitable, yeah. We're profitable for full
Which
year.
is something you also don't see when it's a 1.8 valuation.
Right. Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, our goal has always been, it sounds crazy, but to build a solid business, right? And so, again, it's—
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? It's a totally viable choice.
You don't see companies that have gotten to your size, and the CEO founder is also like the lead chemist. Or what would you call it?
Formulator.
Formulator.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely chemistry involved. But you know what I like about it is it's an art. It really is that like classic art and science combination. I have like a vision and a concept for the flavor, and I actually spent a bunch of time thinking about what that is. Like, what's a nostalgia component that I really think would be awesome? What's a novel way to present the flavor that's very ownable by Alipop, that has like my signature on it, but it's in the middle of all of that. It still is something that people are gonna love, and it's gonna hit the soda itch. It's gonna scratch that soda itch that people have, while also hopefully delivering some joy and delight.
What scares you about raising money at a $1.8 billion valuation?
So one, if we were a business that raised at the $1.8 billion valuation, and I didn't feel like our fundamental P&L and the revenue multiple that was attached to that, I didn't feel like there was actual sanity in that mechanics of the raise, I'd be a lot more nervous, right? If I was raising at 8 or 10x revenue for my value, I'd be very nervous. That's a huge gap to fill. Right. Our gap is not anywhere close to that, and so the momentum behind not only the brand from a revenue standpoint,
everything's very feasible.
It's a big number, but it's a responsible number based on where we actually sit in our momentum, our top line, and our P&L shape. So that's number one. Number two, also for what it's worth, it tends to be earlier stage investors that are looking for a 10x or a 4x typically funds that come in at this later stage understand, actually they're usually looking for more like a 2 to 3.
Well, I love the fact that Ben, he seemed like a very genuine person, number one, but then number two, the fact that he formulates all of the flavors is pretty amazing at a company at this size. It's just something that you don't really see and you don't hear of. It usually gets sent to like a flavor house or like a chemist to do it. And so it seems like he's very hands-on on the actual creation of the product, and it's pretty amazing. This one's colder?
Let's maximize the coldness.
You just freak out. They're not cold.
I mean,
how do you think this all conflicts, if at all, with scaling? Because as you scale, typically quality goes down just because it has to as you keep.
Over my dead body.
So how do you feel about that? Because you all are in the mode of, I mean, you did just under 500 million in revenue in 2024. To your point, you're now starting to get into a mode where you're competing with major players. So how do you deal with that while you're scaling, but also being as health conscious? And
it's a really good question, because you are totally accurate that oftentimes decisions get made to just go after margin at all costs, right? Or increase any form of advantage humanly possible. And then typically the cash that's taken out of doing the real thing that your customers are in theory buying you for, then all just gets piped into marketing, right? So you become this like enormous marketing vehicle that has kind of stepped away from the claims and the value proposition that in theory you have for your customers. I think it's a real shame. Our fundamental tenet has always been, I'm excited about success, like I'm very competitive, I'm success motivated, but the success that is the only success that I feel like is worth having is the one where we're maximizing our good and our impact. It's also amazing for our business's culture, right? So we've got ultra motivated, really heartfelt staff. We had almost 400,000 applications last year to work at Alipop for
it's unbelievable.
50 applications.
I assume that's like a problem too in some sense, because now it's hard. You can't filter it as well.
Yeah, we're doing our best. I don't know how the people ops team does it. They're all going to get raises, but you know what I mean. Like it's a testament to the fact that obviously people out in the world see our success and our momentum. And also word gets out about what it's like to be at Olipop, how differentiated the environment is, and it creates an amazing, really highly motivated, super top tier talent pool. Flavor 2, I mean, it depends on kind of what you're into. What about a tropical punch?
Let's try the tropical punch.
I'm a big fan of tropical punch.
Anyone? Which one? So I have to smell it.
Yeah, give it a smell.
Cheers. Oh, it's lighter than I thought. Like the flavor is like not in my face.
Well, I'm not trying to blow people's taste buds out. You know what I mean? So you get these moments that are genuinely, you feel like you've made it up this mountain. You get to a big summit. You get a big view, and that's
the climb was
rewarding.
hard.
But there's all of those climb moments where I was just on Zoom for 10 hours today, right? And it's like when you're sitting in the seat as well. 80% of the stuff that gets brought to you is the most complex, most challenging stuff that needs to be addressed in the business at like a systemic scale, or it's the biggest challenges that are going to be coming our way over the next 18 to 24 months. And that's very, very taxing. One of my pieces of advice for people trying to raise money is to spend time with your potential investors and make sure that they're like good, motivated folks who are going to be there for you. And they're not. Well, the thing is, like, once you start to get some success, now they're all nice. Now people are nice all over the place.
Right, so it's hard to discern
who's being, and that's why you need new strategies. But sometimes that can happen to just people in your orbit, or sometimes it's employees where people are really good at kind of talking the talk, and then it's real, and then you're like, oh, you really didn't care as much as you said you did, right? Or you're not.
What is it? Success has 1,000 fathers, failure is an orphan.
Right. We're a remote company. We do lots of little department offsites.
Which is also amazing to me.
Yeah. There are moments when I do say to myself, especially like the leadership level, I'm like, it would be very cool if we could all just quickly get in a room right now, right? I have like tiny little moments, but I'm not commuting. Like, and I wouldn't expect anybody. I'm not going to sit in traffic. I'm not going to sit. That's one of the reasons I became an entrepreneur. I'm not going to sit in traffic for an hour to an hour and a half every day. Why would I make somebody else do that if I am just like not going to do that?
Did you not like my reaction to some of these?
No, it's fine. I mean, you're like, your baby is a little ugly, but this baby's a little... No. It would be stupid if you're just like, oh my God, and you hated it. Why do that?
So I'm interested as they scale. I'm interested to see how the dichotomy of him being the formulator goes. Will he continue to do it? I'm not sure. And how fast can they keep growing? It's very difficult for a company to continue to grow and grow and grow. Does that change the culture of the company? Does that change the products? It sounds like it will not based on how Ben is and the culture that he's building, but I am interested to see where that goes. Why do you think Alipop has been successful?
I think there's a couple things that have been pretty instrumental to our success. One, especially, so we created the category, right? Like I technically created the category.
You did.
In 2010. Yeah, technically my prior beverage business was the first foray into this category. This approach of the healthy soda using prebiotics and fiber, yes, 100% Olipop / I personally did create the category. And so that kind of novel concept executed well got a lot of traction moving really quickly. I think the other piece of it as well is, I think people will always respond well to good, like authentic innovation.
They want some hands in it. I think there's a little too much conglomerates like putting just the product out.
100%. And the people are putting money on the till and they want value for that money, it turns out. That's again where
you don't say.
It's insane. I know it's a deep business lesson, but hopefully the viewer will understand. There's this perception that if something is healthy, there's no way it's gonna taste good or as good or whatever. And that was really, really important to me, that our formulations and our products, even if you knew nothing about the health benefits, you still love the way they taste so much. And you have this general sense that it's probably better than drinking a soda. And that's all you have to do. So that's all you have to understand in order to still absolutely love the brand.
I'm wondering, because you had mentioned, and I read in an article how, and you started a couple other ventures, and you said you mentioned unsuccessful exits. Mm-hmm. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do it again if it's like this crazy uphill battle?
So the interesting thing about me discouraging entrance into the beverage category, if you have any chance of survival, you will not be dissuaded by me advising you on the risk. In my prior venture, we had an advisor who had a multiple $100 million like health food products company. And he was advising David and I at the time. And I had decided that I was going to make it like a healthy soda. And I remember getting on the phone and saying, this is the direction I'm going. And he blew up. And he was basically like, soda's a declining category. This is insane. You are wasting a gift from God. And if you go down this path, I will not support you.
Wow.
And then he hung up. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're done hanging out, right? And I just was like, I know what I want to do. I'm going down that direction. And there's been a billion moments like that. I mean, the entrepreneurial journey is ultra high cortisol production for many, many years, the majority of the time. And that is, again, where I get back to, you have to have independent fuel in your tank. You have to have, I personally believe you have to have a lot of passion and motivation and vision behind what you're doing. Let's go with a classic. Let's do a grape.
Okay.
Do you have one? Here's one.
I don't.
I have a grape. Great.
This one's very tasty.
Good.
I was expecting a more artificial taste to all of these so far. So kudos to you. You're not trying to shame people who drink soda.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I grew up drinking soda.
What would you say to people who are like, I want the classics. I want Coke or Pepsi or Sprite. What would you say to them?
I think most folks understand at this point of where we are that those products are not good for you. If at a large scale, we could shift people away from one of the most damaging and widespread beverages in all of human history during a time when the CDC predicts that 1.3 billion human beings will have type 2 diabetes by 2050, which will be the largest self-inflicted epidemic of all of human history, there may be a correlative relationship between the sugar in our food and beverage supply and the enormous rates of disease states. If we can shift the needle on that, and provide joy and comfort to a lot of people who love a category, that is enough to just make me get after it day after day after day.
Yeah, I also do not like artificial banana. I'm just prepping you. I'm prepping you.
Just try it and see what you think.
I'm gonna put this on my last.
Yeah.
If I ask you about your Netflix show that you're binging,
Yeah, I don't watch any TV.
do you not watch any?
No, not really.
If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Japan is always my knee-jerk response. Iceland, I have been invitation to eat at Noma before it closes, so I might also go to Copenhagen.
I want to know what song you're listening to right now.
My favorite artist at the moment is Gidge, G-I-D-G-E. And then I'm also listening to this guy, Sam Goku.
What is your last meal on earth?
So I have this flavor combination I really like that kind of shows up in pesto and kind of shows up in sag paneer. I also really love raw fish and I like pie. Maybe it wouldn't combine well, but
My
those would be-
stomach hurts.
Yeah.
Tell me about your best friend.
My assistant Alex, we are joined at the hip. We work together and talk together every day, really have each other's back. And in a lot of ways, she kind of functions as a best friend. I mean, we were working together for 3 years, and simply through time exposure and quality and care of relationship, that's a very meaningful relationship to me.
Ben, it's been really fun talking with you.
Likewise, Will.
I love the product. I'm really interested to see where you continue to go because you've doubled how many years in a row now in sales?
Triple-digit growth since launch.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And kudos to you, kudos to your team. It's really awesome. You're an impressive guy, and thank you for joining our series.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for the interview, and I mean, it's an honor to be on the show.
Yeah, it's a show. It's a show. Yeah.
Do
Do not call it a podcast. It is a show.
I did it. I said show. Yeah.
Well, people are always like your podcast. I'm like, it's not a podcast. I keep saying I'm interested to see where the brand goes. It's already gone so far. But does this replace soda as we know it? Because I can see it doing that. I don't see this as a brand that kind of just sticks around for a few years, has a big pop, and then starts to go away. I see this being a healthier alternative to the soda that we know, and we know who I'm talking about right now, Coke and Pepsi. So I think this could replace it as people are more health conscious. But there's nothing against Coke and Pepsi drinkers. You should just try Alipop. It's a hot summer day. You're outside.
Watermelon lime. Are they recording what we're saying, or are we just?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. We are fully on
Sorry
right now.
to everybody. How poofy. Do I look like a little fashionable Eskimo? Okay. Do you want to get some organic sour cubes?
These can't be good. You know, I was about to say you look like a fashionable Eskimo.
Were you? Is that the next thing you're gonna say?
I use this when I make sauce, just an FYI. I'm Italian, I make a lot of pasta sauce. For Will's Pasta Sauce, go to willspastasauce.com.